Hey, always an advocate for rotoscoping. Mappa and 3D be like, is this CGI? I think it's rotoscope. Yeah, I feel like a bunch of anime fans watched The Trick That Made Animation Realistic by Vox and began chucking the word rotoscope on every scene that wasn't a character with lip flaps. Wild. Like, do fans not realize that there are animators out there who are just that good at animating stuff in a realistic style? Like, there was a whole movement centered around realism, but we don't have time for that. Anyways, no, this isn't rotoscoped or CG. This was animated by Daniel Kim, and here's his original drawings. There's your answer, soy Dennis music. Now, there's definitely a high chance Mr. Kim actually just referenced footage. There's been other animators like Benjamin who have done that, like in the scene for Man vs. Grasshopper where he goes blow for blow with the air. Or another example with Koki Fujimoto in season 1. You'll remember him from this scene. And just about any scene involving a black flash. Shot some reference footage for the Megami running part in episode 1, and went off that. And of no surprise when he did the same in other shows like Chainsaw Man, people were calling it rotoscoped. How wise us anime fans are. Now, there are exceptions like animator Gesso in season 1 who animated out his section in 3D, then drew over the top of the models. But again, that's an exception, not the standard practice of every animator to have stepped foot in Mappa. Big facts, this animation is trash. I haven't lived long, but anyone who's game enough to put big facts before they make a point is probably spitting the exact opposite. And over-the-top Americanized action sequences? What yeehaw American action animation looks anything like this? Come on AllSkill AJ, you're not living up to your username right now. Barely any contact, just flashy AF. I mean, there's nothing wrong with either of those things. Take one of the greatest action animators, Yutaka Nakamura. His work is flashy written all over it, but there is still a lot of depth to his work. Will I get into that depth? No, go read a blog. Or Hiroyuki Imaishi, director of Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Cyberpunk, and many more well-known titles. He's been flashy since forever, being over the top is his trademark, yet there's still an absurd amount of skill behind his cuts. Complex camera work, insanely dynamic poses and perspectives, background animation, then his ability to animate mecha, a very skilled animator. Anyways, back to the rest of this comment. No feeling of pressure or intensity. Just fast movements made to feel like a lot, and flashy moves to make you feel like he's doing a lot, but in reality, he's just spinning and throwing random hands. Nah, he really isn't. There is a lot going on here when you break it down. Watanabe is animating some pretty complex movement in some very difficult angles, while also integrating background animation. There's nothing random or simple about it, and no intensity? How is it not intense? The unhinged expressions to the breakneck speed. Toji is this overpowered monster coming up against another monster we've just seen the cast struggle with for the last episode. And so what better way to display his strength than having him just like burst in with this rapid barrage of non-stop attacks. Fast movement and Watanabe style in general is perfect for such a scene. Now, it's definitely not the most polished work he's put out on the series due to time constraints, but it definitely does the character justice and honestly, just a great bit of animation. So sorry AJ, Roberto does stuff, has a point. Izzy Bake Oven. Man, I hate how they sneak in that berserk animation. Stop. I don't know what Izzy was baking, but it's charred. Okay, so I really had the old brain in overdrive trying to decipher this one, and I'm guessing taking into account the notoriety of Berserk 2016 for its CG animation quality, he's referencing that and saying it's on the same level, but the scene is clearly 2D and there's honestly nothing wrong with it. Just another reason Izzy shouldn't be let in the kitchen, or any workplace for that matter. The animation this second half of the season is trash, crying face emoji. So this is definitely not an uncommon sentiment. The animation quality of season 2 has definitely been up for debate. Although when you have the same comments on scenes like Sukuna killing Volcano Man, like obviously insanely good effects animation, I have to wonder when fans are talking about season 1's detailed animation, are they talking about the actual animation, like the way it moves, or how detailed the drawings are? Because it's definitely a common mistake of confusing the two. I don't feel like it's made as much as it once was, but still is very much a thing, judging by such comments, so probably best to make that distinction. So animation is an illusion. You're putting a collection of these still images together to give the illusion of movement, and therefore you can only properly assess the quality of the animation when it's moving. Like imagine if I said, hey, look how great this stop motion animation is. And then I just showed you a picture of a figurine. Like, what does that tell anyone? It's only when you play the sequence you can properly see for yourself how good it actually is. Like, there's a reason at Walt Disney they had screenings where they all plopped themselves down and analyzed how good the animation was while it was in motion. They didn't flick through a slideshow to review the animation quality, analyzing each individual drawing for how many levels of shading it had. And on that Disney note, take this scene by good old Milk Carl. This is a great example of very detailed animation, but look how simple the drawings are. There's not a single layer of shading. Not too different from this scene. Now, I'm not saying you have to like detail over simplicity in a drawing style. However, referring to scenes like this as badly animated or having less effort because of the difference in style couldn't be further from the truth. Even then, there was still plenty of detailed art throughout the second season. Take one of the regulars, Sota Yamazaki. He was drawing just as detailed as he did in the first season, if not even more at times. His Nanami character art, for example, is some of the most complex drawings I've seen him put out on the entire series. And here's a bunch more of original drawings posted up by various animators and animation directors that worked on the show. Besides that, even the more detailed critiques that extend past animation bad are still so exaggerated. Like, there was amazing fluidity and smooth animation in season 1 consistently in every fight, along with the best drawing, shading, and color gradients. JJK was one of the few that set the bar to be unreachable with the high level of detail and animation. Did it really? I mean, there's God of High School directed by the same guy behind JJK's first season, and the movie, Sung-Ho Park, plenty of crazy action animation and detailed art there. Or Fire Force, another show with a great team that regularly put out top tier action animation. Or Demon Slayer, or the 1-0 arc of One Piece. Once again, pretty detailed character art with plenty of great animation. Even Mob Psycho, a show known more for its simpler art, still had some detailed characters like God Dimple and Psycho Helmet appear, and sure enough had some very polished and well choreographed action, while also having some really great detailed art. And look, that's just seasons and series that came either slightly before or just after JJK's first season. There's heaps more that had a blend of the two, like One Punch Man, Attack on Titan. And that's just in the bubble of shonen. Like, take a look at some of KyoAni's work. Like, JJK really isn't the only series to feature shiny, detailed abs and good animation. In regards to the amazing fluidity consistently in every fight and the best color gradients, I mean, season 1 certainly had well animated scenes that could come under fluid or smooth, just like the second season did. But consistently in every fight, a bit of a reach. Just like the second, season 1 was no stranger to a terrible schedule with rushed out work, which affects every department. Like episode 24, as Yuji is running off, you've got these rough PS2 era looking 3D backgrounds, terrible textures. Same thing in episode 19 with the low poly ground, or this scene with more bad 3D backgrounds. And more specifically with the 2D side, part of the fight with Hanami. Despite a lot of great stuff, there was also some pretty jerky and stiff animation, and just to cut before this one, you have that awkward scaling where Yuji and Muscle Man get smaller as they approach Hanami, and instead of hand-drawn background animation, it's a 3D one layered underneath. Doesn't help. Or the Nanami vs Mahito fight, with again some stiff animation in areas with some pretty poor art direction on top. Again, not outright bad, but fluid and smooth isn't exactly the words I would pin to it. And no hate on the animators behind those scenes, by the way. Hironori Tanaka, the animator in that first example, that man has put out some of the top drawings I've seen on this series, and honestly, any series. He's a crazy good animator that you can find on many big titles, so definitely not representative of his usual output. Them rotoscoping due to time constraints isn't them referencing, it's lazy. So this is in regards to a compilation of references the show staff made to other anime fights, which seem to have become a bit of a trend to make now, although it's getting to the point where a camera underwater counts as a reference, so safe to say that content well is drying up. There were also a lot of other comments in general accusing the show of plagiarism and copying, but one thing at a time. This is not rotoscoped, traced, whatever. You can clearly see the poses are different, not even the angles are the same. If I overlay the images, that's obviously the case. I mean, there's not even people at times, like it's literal rabbits. Like, how do you rotoscope a tiny rabbit falling over a dude falling back? Next one, same thing. I'm not going to bore you by going frame by frame, but hopefully the images on screen can give an example of what a reach this take is. And referencing or paying homage or homage, whatever way you like to say it, to other shows and movies is nothing new in anime. From industry legend Norio Matsumoto in Naruto paying homage to Conan Lee, to them Boondocks paying homage to Matsumoto's work, or Bocchi the Rock referencing Fully Cooley for a comedy scene, and JJK doing the same thing, then to Dragon Ball Super referencing the Avengers, homages, references, again, nothing new. And when you do the big brain math from season 2, this is about 50 seconds of references out of 23 episodes. Now, there are a couple of other references the original post didn't mention, like Shingo Yamashita's classic scene from Tetsuwan Birdie Decode, or a throwback to the 1993 JoJo OVA. But yeah, this stuff's the minority. 2, these references aren't made because of time constraints. Adding a flare effect from Kenshin doesn't necessarily save loads of time, and I mean this literally the manga. 3, I think some context is needed. It's good to keep in mind that half of the references shown here, or at least you'll see a lot online, are from a single episode, directed and storyboarded by Yoto, whose style is heavily influenced by Studio Gainax and Trigger animators, coincidentally enough such as Amaeshi, the guy I mentioned earlier, with that snappy movement, the Kanada light flares, the sketchy line work, exaggerated posing, Kanada dragons, and a million and one other things. Even outside this episode and this series, you can see a lot of those stylistic notes, such as those multi-layered coloured explosions. The guy's just a massive fan of their work. And of no coincidence, one of the main shows he continually referenced, Gurren Lagann, was produced by Studio Gainax. Even on his Twitter, you can see him doing Gurren Lagann fan art. So yeah, no surprise that when the big mecha fan was handed a mecha episode, he included a stack of references to his favourite mecha anime, Pain vs Naruto animation. I love the irony of using that fight as an example of poor animation, and putting down the animator behind it, Shingo Yamashita, the guy behind the wobbly face Pain. Considering the series author of JJK himself reached out to Yamashita directly with the hope that he would work on the series and handle the openings, and this is before it even had an anime, and well, the rest is history. I still don't know why though people thought of Pain vs Naruto. Even positive comments towards this episode referenced it. Maybe it's because there was a cut of fiery hands holding big rectangle objects and like this reference, so people thought of it. I mean, I guess there are some similarities in terms that both teams had a lot of ambition and the special treatment they got in a production sense, but I kind of doubt that's what fans mean when they're using it as an insult. I honestly think it's just simply Pain vs Naruto had simple and off-model drawings, which therefore equals bad animation. Not like teams were doing that decades before. Anyways, I've had my fill of the Instagram comment section for a day. I'm sure you have too. This was meant to be a quick, fun, and simple video before I got back properly into the swing of things after lounging around on holidays, but unfortunately took a little longer to complete than I thought, so sorry that the first video I've posted in a while is a comment reading one. Anyways, thank you for watching though, and a big thank you to the Patreon crew. Also, please check out Fandom Eon for some JJK swag. Link to the store will be in the description, and also use the code RELICS for 10% off. And with that, I'll see you later.